why do we do groups? Why do any of us do some sort of smaller group context within our church? The truth is, your church, if you're not already doing it in some formalized sense, I can guarantee you it's happening in some informal sense. And so why do we do groups? Because we've always done them. As the Church of Jesus Christ, we have 2,000 years worth of God's people going out from the larger gathering, the crowds, and getting together in these smaller contexts to encourage one another and to build each other up. We see this as early as even Acts 2, in the early church gathering together in these first century home groups. They would meet in these first century homes, and what does the text tell us in Acts 2? It tells us that they met together around the teaching of the word, or the apostles' teaching at that time. They broke bread together, shared a simple meal. They had fellowship because they had the same story around that circle, that their lives had been transformed by Jesus Christ. And they prayed with and for one another. This had an incredible missional impact on their community. So why groups is a question we all need to be asking, because each of us in our church context require this space. Where in your church context are you making time and space for Christians to speak life to one another, for Christian practice to happen, and for Christian courage to be inflamed? Because here's what I've learned in about a decade and a half worth of groups ministry. Encouraged Christians are very brave with the gospel. One example of this would be from one of our own home groups. We had a young man who was incredibly skeptical about joining our home group. Why do I need to share my feelings? Why do I need to even share personal things with these people? I just need to understand what God's saying in the Bible and follow it. And yet, he did join a home group. And it so happens that in the midst of his joining the home group, the group was halfway through sharing testimonies. Each member was going through talking about how Jesus Christ had transformed their lives when they first met him. And this man sitting in there was so affected by the Spirit's movement and the power of each of these stories being told with real live human beings sitting not in rows, but in a circle, looking at one another, connecting on that level. He was given so much courage that was actually the first place and the first group of people that he ever shared his Christian testimony with. And he wouldn't stop sharing it after that. See, what happened there was that he was able to do the Christian practice of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ and how it's impacted his life. And then out of that, he was given Christian courage in that context to continue sharing his story with believers and non-believers. That's some of the power of groups, and that's plugging into the ancient stream of what God's people have been doing for 2,000 years. That's why we do groups, and that's why I want to encourage you in your church leadership context to consider where you will make space for this kind of Christian practice, and what will be the context in your church for Christian courage.